Is the Christian church anti-intellectual? Well, yes, but so is every church by design. They have to be, otherwise their followers would take one look at the absurd things they believe and just fall over laughing. It's time to see STR's take on anti-intellectualism, and it only reveals their own hypocrisy. But hey, what else is new, right? It's been a while since we saw a video by Tim Barnett over at STR. Has he gotten any better? Has he learned any lessons? Yeah, don't hold your breath. In fact, he's probably worse in this video than usual. He wants to criticize churches for being anti-intellectual while entirely ignoring the absurd anti-intellectualism coming out of his own mouth, because he doesn't know what any of these words actually mean. So let's go watch Tim make himself a laughingstock once again.
Some days, I wish I had a normal job.
Some days, I wish you had a brain. But if you did, we wouldn't be able to laugh at the absurdity coming out of your mouth, would we? So, I guess the insanity is somewhat useful, huh? Hell if I know. It's a good question, one that deserves a good answer, but I don't think anyone has one. Because while the dictionary defines apologetics as reasoned arguments or writings in justification of something, typically a theory or religious doctrine, there are never any reasoned arguments to be had. There are rationalized arguments to be sure, but no reason anywhere when it comes to religion. And I don't think we're going to see any here.
If you walked into most churches in North America and asked what they teach on apologetics, they'd probably look at you like you have two heads.
That's because they're not there to teach the congregation to do anything. Most churches are in it for the money. They preach a message on Sunday that is designed to get people to throw money into the collection plate, which helps to keep the lights on and the staff fed. They really aren't interested in spreading the mind poison outside of some vague efforts like sending kids around to harass local residents once or twice a year and ringing that damn bell on Sunday mornings, which luckily in many places has been outlawed as noise pollution. Most of the time, apologetics is simply not a money-making activity.
And this is because apologetics is treated as if it's an extra at best or an error at worst.
No, it's just not part of the profitable program. Now, I suppose it could be if you could get more people with fat wallets to come in and sit in your pews, but the amount of effort that it takes compared to the amount of return on investment that most churches get, it's really not worth it.
And whether it's apathy or animosity towards apologetics, both are fueled by anti-intellectualism in the church.
No, it's a sound business decision by the people who rely on contributions to keep eating. If you want anti-intellectualism, look in the mirror, Tim, because that's what apologetics, especially the apologetics engaged in by STR, actually is. Because we can go right back to the dictionary and define anti-intellectual: a person opposed to or hostile toward intellectuals and the modern academic, artistic, social, religious, and other theories associated with them. A person who believes that intellect and reason are less important than actions and emotions in solving practical problems and understanding reality. And Tim, that's you!
In his book, The Scandal of the Evangelical Mind, Mark Knoll writes this: The scandal of the evangelical mind is that there is not much of an evangelical mind.
Which is true, but not the way you want to interpret it. Now, I don't know and I don't care what Null actually intended, but the statement as given is accurate. Once you get to evangelicals and fundamentalists and other religious fanatics, you're not really talking about the mind at all. It's all emotion and zero intellect. You lose the ability to reason your way out of a soggy paper bag. It's all faith, no facts. Where reality gets in the way of your feelings, you insist that reality is wrong. And you don't see a problem with that, do you?
Ouch! Many Christians don't think very deeply anymore.
As if they ever did, at least about their religious beliefs. But today, people like Tim here, they're actually proud of their lack of coherent, intelligent, and rational thought. That's the goal. Don't look for independent evidence for their beliefs. Just believe and demand that the evidence must be out there somewhere, no matter how much you have to twist it to get it to fit. Honestly, everyone outside of your little lunatic club sees this. Why can't you?
Philosopher William Lane Craig, he states this: our churches are filled with Christians who are idling in intellectual neutral.
And we've already seen that William Lane Craig is actively dishonest, so yeah. None of these people can come up to the standards of rationality that we expect them to have. They're satisfied to spend all of their time at the bottom of the intellectual trench because they lack the capacity to climb out. Try having an intelligent discussion with these people. Try. It doesn't go very well.
As Christians, their minds are going to waste. One result of this is an immature, superficial faith. People who simply ride the roller coaster of emotional experience are cheating themselves out of a deeper and richer Christian faith by neglecting the intellectual side of that faith.
And where is that exactly? Seriously, I hear this from a lot of Christians, but when you ask them to put up any of that supposed intellectual evidence that they pretend that they have, they simply can't do it. They get upset and they run away. It's like, "Cheese it, we've been discovered. Head for the hills." There's nothing there, Tim. You have nothing. William Lane Craig has nothing. Just saying that you have evidence doesn't mean that you have evidence. Just saying that your position is intellectual doesn't mean that it is. This is where you have to put up or shut up, and the religious, unfortunately, they don't know how to do either one.
Writing 4 decades ago in Christianity Today, 1980, academic Charles Malik, he says this: I must be frank with you. The greatest danger confronting American evangelical Christianity is the danger of anti-intellectualism. The mind in its greatest and deepest reaches is not cared for enough.
So what? Evangelicals are also the most likely to reject higher education, especially higher secular education. These people are terrified to open their eyes to the truth because they're already convinced they have it. What they're talking about here isn't intellectualism, it's indoctrination. Believe the things that we want you to believe because we want you to believe them. Don't go looking for evidence because you won't find it. Only pay attention to our bald rationalizations. It means what we tell you that it means, not what it looks like, because what it looks like is intellectually empty and emotionally derived.
Caring for the life of the mind is the job of apologetics. Unsurprisingly, it's the uncared for Christian mind that leads to the undoing of Christian faith.
Yet every single rational ex-theist that I've ever spoken to says that daring to open your mind to the possibilities that Christianity just might not be true, or to hold it to the same standards as everything else and demand that it must be just as demonstrable as any other claim, that's what led them to rejecting the faith. Make up your mind, Tim. Because you really don't want people to be intellectual. You certainly don't want them to be skeptical. You want them to pay attention to what you say, to what you claim, and then stop looking. It's only intellectual in your mind if they come to the conclusions that you want them to come to. And sorry, it doesn't work like that.
So the real danger isn't apologetics. Nothing could be further from the truth. Rather, apologetics is pushing back against the real threat, anti-intellectualism.
But in far too many cases, apologetics and anti-intellectualism are one and the same thing. Because we can again return to the dictionary, which defines intellectualism as the exercise of the intellect at the expense of the emotions. And that's not what you people are doing. You are being anti-intellectual, but pro-rationalization. You are desperately trying to defend an emotionally held belief system through any means necessary. This isn't about following the evidence to whatever conclusion it most rationally supports. You know the goal. You had a goal in mind before you even started. You're just trying to figure out how to get there from here. That's not an intellectually valid way of thinking. You don't pick your path before you see the evidence, yet that's exactly what religion demands. I don't think you know what any of these words mean, Tim.
Let me say it as plainly as I can. If you want to know the mind of God, you need to learn to use your own.
But that assumes that there is a God in the first place when that claim is simply not in evidence. You want it to be true, and in so doing, you've thrown away any claim to intellectual credibility. You're starting with faith, and that's the opposite of intellectualism. This is why the religious play musical definitions so often. They are trying to convince their followers that they are right, even when it's blatantly obvious that they're wrong. So they're playing the intellectual game without knowing what the rules are. I'm sorry, but if you're exercising faith at all, then you're not being intellectual. You can't be by definition. You don't get to pick your end goals through emotion, then only look at the data points that get you to that end goal, and then claim that you've done something intelligent. You haven't. You just haven't. You've just made yourself look like an idiot, which is why STR spends so much time being pointed at and laughed at on this channel. You're one of the poster children for doing absolutely everything wrong and being entirely clueless about it. Then you hide from the world because you're terrified that we're going to point out just how wrong you are and convince your brain-dead followers not to keep giving you money. We know you're scammed, Tim. You're doing absolutely everything conceivable wrong.
Bum